Welcome to the bid review subcommittee meeting. It's being held at Brockton High School in the Little Theater. Today's date is March 1st, 2022. The reason for this meeting is we've had two subsequent bid review meetings. The first one got turned down, first one got approved, and then we find out that the credit amount was, instead of 7,500, 75,000. So all the bids were thrown out. In the last meeting we had on February 15th, the meeting was called to order at 5:30, same place, Brockton High School. 4 bids, 2 were rejected by Kathy Ellis and seconded by Tony Rodriguez. 2 were rejected by Tony Rodriguez, seconded by Kathy Ellis. So we're back tonight with Dr. Cobbs to see if we can figure out this information. Dr. Cobbs, it's up to you.
Good evening. So again, as you say, the bids have changed several times, and now I understand the original bid process was 8 facilities, and then it was down to 4, and now it's down to 3. And after reviewing the bids, first of all, everybody, I'd like to introduce my new coworker, Kyle Walker. He's a project manager, and he'll be taking point on this modular units installation. So. He's a construction supervisor, many years as a construction contractor. He's a licensed educator. He's an education administrator, and finishing his PhD.
Welcome, Kyle.
So Kyle and I have had a chance to review the latest bid documents, and I am recommending that we will reject this bid as well because a couple of reasons. One is the bid, it's changed. Now it's only 3 facilities. And if you notice in the bid documents that you have, they all say that demolition of the existing facility, and of the 3 bids, we'll bring another. We're writing another proposal right now, but we'll bring back the corrected bid language, which should say there's only one actually that has a demolition, which will be the Ashfield School. There's only one facility that's going to be demolished, which is the Ashfield School, and 2 other schools that we will plan to put units will be the South Middle School and the Gilmore School. So that changes the whole bid scope, first of all. And the second reason I am recommending that we reject this bid is because in our bid specifications, we asked for the contractor to give us prices on sub-bids for site utility work, and those were not included in this bid. And as Tim said, they also made a mistake with their credit on each facility. So we're going to ask you to reject this bid and go back to the drawing board. We're writing another RFP right now, and we'll bring it before you. And before we post it, we'll send it out to you. You can take a look at it, and we'll be before you again for it to be approved again. This the next. Tony called me actually, and he had a question regarding the why is it says it's engineering services, and that's not what we want. We want a design build project, RFP. So when we write it the next time, again, we have a draft already written today, but we want the company to design it, build it, hire the subcontractors to do the site utilities, have it completely installed and inspected and up to code for the students to occupy. So that's what we're looking for.
So we need a motion now to reject the whole bid
That's correct.
for tonight?
Unless anybody has any questions on any event.
Tonight was for clarification. We're going to reject it again.
Why do we have to do it twice?
Well, we rejected it last time for further discussion with Dr. Cobbs.
This is the discussion. We're rejecting it again.
I think you kind of tabled it last time for further
it was
discussions.
rejected last
Because
time.
it wasn't
Oh, it
here
was
to answer
rejected.
questions. You rejected it?
It
Okay.
was rejected, so
Okay. So I'd say I recommend that you stay with that, and we'll rebid it, and we'll come back before you with the corrected bids that we need for the exact specifications that we want.
okay. So you had a question first.
No, I had a clarification.
Certainly.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I just
Okay.
had a clarification.
Talk into the mic.
Yeah.
I'm trying to, but it doesn't seem like, okay, mate,
Put it
there
right
we
in front
are.
of your mouth.
There you go.
Anyway, my question is, have we even considered what the cost would be? Like you talked about the Ashfield School, tearing it down,
Right.
okay? Have we even thought or talked about or considered looking at what the cost would be for us to get the other buildings up to code? Because my understanding is that the reason we didn't put additions on is because the coding for the addition would be different than the coding that was grandfathered in for the rest of the building.
Right.
And so, excuse me if I'm not using the right verbiage, but
No, you're right.
it seems kind of crazy to me. But I guess my question is, wouldn't we want to get the rest of the building up to code and see what it's going to cost for that? And should we be pacing ourselves and doing that over time, like taking 2 schools at a time and like maybe getting them up to code and putting an addition on, and then having the whole building be the way it should be?
Well, I understand your question, but, it would be prohibitively expensive to do that. Once you design an addition to a building and it meets a certain, like 80% of the building costs already, the building assessment, then you're right, you have to bring the whole building up to code, which would include sprinkler systems, elevators, updated lighting systems and emergency lighting systems and fire inspection. So instead of a, $1 or $2 million, modular unit, you could be into a $6,000 to $10,000 or more, upgrade to the building. And we just don't have the money in the budget for that right now.
But have we even had like our, chief come out to tell us what the cost of that would be and what it really does look like? Or are we thinking that that's what it's going to look like? I'm curious, like, do
Well,
we have actual facts?
We've kind of been down this road before over the years, but, and so we have looked into that, and it's extremely expensive, and, I wish we had the money to bring every single building up to code and put in sprinkler systems and more upgraded systems. We have some buildings that still don't have elevators, and we're trying to do that. An elevator is $1.5 to $2 million, just so it's expensive, and it also takes the school offline for at least a year, so we have to place the students someplace in order to do that. So.
I think my biggest concern is the fact that we're going to be dumping money into something that we already know right now is a temporary fix because it's a modular unit.
Well, they're usually good for at least 20 years, if not more, and then we typically, what we do is rehab them along the way, so we get another 10 years useful life out of them. So it'll be long after we're gone from the school committee and serving here. So it'll serve the students, our needs, certainly for now. And as you know, the student population, it changes, and really it's been on a decline. So we may not need to do any more additions to buildings, but the project, again, it went from 8 buildings now down to 3, but those 8 buildings still need another look. But based on the, the projected enrollment for next year, we need to really relook. That's what we're really spending our time, relooking at where we can move students and get, the best place for them without having to do additions or modular units.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Dr. Cobb?
I have a question. Okay, so the Downey School's not on the table anymore? The Downey School?
Right, the Downey right now is not on the list anymore. It was, but it isn't right now. They have an existing unit with 4 classrooms, 2 classrooms in it actually, and the plan was to expand that, and again, we demolished the existing one, but right now, we're working with these 3 buildings. That's why it's gone down from 8 to 3, because we're working with the budget that we can forecast right now with the money.
So we can't afford the Downey one right now?
Not yet, but when we get the ESSER and infrastructure funds, it may be back on the table. We come back before you, and it's later this year or next fiscal year.
Okay, so these schools are South Gilmore and...
South Ashfield and Gilmore, right?
South Ashfield and Gilmore,
Right,
which is 2 middle schools
right.
and an elementary.
And South is where they're really having the most problem. And it's not always just because of the student enrollment in the population, it's because of programmatic needs. As you know, at the South, they have a lot of special needs students that we need to move into the general education spaces in the main areas in the building, and some of the other students will move out to the modular units. So.
Right. Well,
So
we need
it's
the- we
always
need the classroom
programmatic
space.
changes that are required by the special education department at DESE. So.
Right, and we need the room, we need the space.
Right,
We're trying to bring the classroom sizes down.
right, right. So again, with the population decline, we're looking at next year. Again, we're have the North Middle School back online. So some of the students will go there that might have gone to South or some of the other schools. So that will help the general total enrollment. But again, for the programmatic needs for the special education students, we need more classrooms for we're going to take some of the
Yes,
gen ed
definitely.
classrooms and move the other students into the modular
Yeah.
units. So.
That part I understand completely. Okay, so, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So we've gone from 4 bids down to 3. We need a motion to reject these 3 again in a second.
I make a motion to
I have a
reject these.
question before we get to that.
Yes.
We all know that the city's actually growing. I know our student population, and we can always, look at COVID, but a lot of the students getting education elsewhere. But, we're over 100,000 people in the city, and it's going to grow with all the infrastructure and all the, the condos that are going up across the city. We all see that. And with the infrastructure money that's coming in, the city of Brockton is going to get some substantial amount of money. I know right now we have a certain amount, but I would like, I'm with Kathy on this and we spoke, but I would like to actually see like a hard dollar figure if, South Middle School, how we can put, an addition on versus a modular classroom. Because we have to look at the long run. And I think this board here is on board. And I think we can, make that request to the city council and let them say no. I don't think they should say no, but I think we should. I'd rather see a hard number, what it will
Well,
cost and
honestly,
what the.
You're talking to two contractors. We're all for adding on the buildings and building out more spaces that's permanent and again, but and also we have to go back and retrofit the rest of the building.
Yeah, so I would like to.
A huge number of sprinklers. I mean, once you start going down that road, you have to sprinkle the whole building, and that's quite an expensive
Yeah.
proposition.
So I mean, I'm with Kathy. I don't know how everybody else feels. I would like to see like a hard figure. Like this is what it's going to cost us if we was to go there, and it doesn't hurt to go and ask the city council for money.
Well, this classroom space is needed now,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
And I don't think the children should suffer to be in classrooms that are overcrowded, and this is needed now, and this has already been studied
Right.
and approved by administration and facilities. It's part of the facility master plan, and I
I'm
don't
not
think-
saying that it's not going to happen.
We're
What
trying
I'm
to get
asking
Brockton
is,
High done over, so I really don't think the MSB is going to approve an addition for South Middle School. We don't have the money.
Well, they rejected the North Middle School. We wanted to renovate
We're
that
trying to get
school and put an
Brockton High done
elevator
over
in,
before that.
and they
yeah, I
rejected
understand
it.
that, but I'm
Okay.
not saying it's not going to get done. I want to see a hard figure how much it would cost.
He's just looking for
This
the
isn't
paperwork.
stopping the
I'm
process
not
of
going to reject
approving a
the bid,
module or anything.
so.
So, and
These
again, cost
modular
expenses.
classrooms are like 30 years old, and they were only supposed to last 10 years.
Right,
They're dilapidated now,
Right.
and they need to be replaced.
right. And again, understanding that it's not just the expense of retrofitting a school, it's also, you have 600 to 800 students that you're displaced for at least maybe 2 years, and they have to go someplace, and
Yeah.
you're going to cause overcrowding in other schools. So to take one offline, like we did North, we had planned to take it offline and rehab it. MSB denied that, didn't invite us into the core program for that. So the next step was we were gonna, look for monies, but obviously the COVID shut down, so we ended up rehabbing the classrooms each year on our own. So it's up to speed, but again, it does not have the elevator, it does not have the ADA requirements for the classroom corridors and those sorts of things. It's improved teaching and learning space for students, but it's not, like a newly rehab building. So, and again, Julie, you're absolutely right. This meets a need now for at least the next 30 years, and without taking a school offline and without spending, $10-20 million to do a complete rehab for, an old building.
Right.
But the way I understand it is, Mr. Rodriguez just wants to see what those numbers are. If
I
it-
understand.
In other
We
words,
can
if it
still do a
was-
study on that,
Sure.
and still approve these and do a study on that.
Well, again, that's something we'll probably have to come before the facilities usage, committee to be
Right.
requesting money for an RFP for engineering services to do that, which may,
So-
it may be
Right.
$20,000-$30,000 for that. as
We're
well.
looking at South, 6 classes.
6
that
classrooms.
We need to,
Right.
we need to add.
Yeah.
Me just throwing a number out there, 10 million.
Mm-hmm.
Or we looking at more?
Right, and it's $2 million for the modular units to install, and they'll be installed within a year's time, without displacing students.
Yeah.
But Judy, what we're doing tonight is rejecting these 3 bids, so they're not right. They have to do
Okay, I
it
make a
over.
motion to reject those 3 bids,
Yeah, they're not right. They're gonna do it over and come back to us again.
and then we're gonna,
There's actually 4 bids here. Ashfield, Downey, South, and Gilmore.
Right,
Okay,
We're-
so-
What we're doing is rejecting all 4.
Right.
And they'll redo it. It's gonna come back with 3 over.
and that's on the, Dr. Cobbs, you agreed with that?
that's correct, yes.
Okay. So I make a motion to reject the 4 bids for Ashfield, Gilmore, Downey, and
South.
South.
And a second from somebody.
Second?
A motion has been made and properly seconded. A motion made by Judy Sullivan, seconded by Tony Rodriguez. All in favor by a show of hands. Motion carries unanimous. These 4 bids in front of you tonight are rejected.
So I will, we have an engineer that we use, I can ask if you want to give us a price on the architectural engineering services, but again, we're probably looking at $30,000 for them to just do the engineering and come up with a proposal for that. But I can certainly get that figure.
Right, and why, and then there'd be questions also, why is South getting an addition and not East, West, or, okay, so,
We have to just put a plan
why
into
is South
place
getting
and-
an addition and none of the other middle schools getting an addition?
Again, the main reason for South is for programmatic needs, again, we have to move special education students into the general education core areas and then move the other students out to the new classroom modular units.
Right, there would have to be a reason for doing it. That the public would have to understand
Right.
what the reason was, would have to be explained to them and everything.
So,
Yeah.
Dr. Cobbs, we rejected these 4 bids, and you'll come back with 3 new bids?
That's correct. We'll come back with 3 new bids again for the Gilmore, Ashfield, and South Middle School.
Okay.
So can I ask, are we still on?
Yes.
So if we come back with the 3 additional bids, what is the plan for the other ones that we took off the table? As
Well,
budgeted? So,
we'll-
I mean, like, they were really important at the beginning.
They're all important. You're absolutely right. So the plan is we're still waiting to see what's going to happen with the infrastructure bill, the infrastructure money, and that will allow us to, more latitude to come put those back on the table at some point.
Okay, so we're just kind of reprioritizing. the
Exactly.
list for now.
Exactly, yes.
Right.
I just don't, I mean, admittedly, like, I know we're trying
No.
to prioritize, but they were
Exactly.
really important.
They're all important. We're not going to scrap them all together. We just have to pace ourselves wait for the money to catch up with what we need.
Yeah, we can only get what we have money for.
Right.
This is all we have money for right now.
So is there any other business to come before this subcommittee? We need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
A motion's been made and properly seconded to adjourn this meeting. All in favor by a show of hands? Motion carries unanimously. Welcome to the Curriculum Subcommittee meeting. We're at Brockton High School in the Little Theater, and it's 5:30. My name is Tim Sullivan. I was asked to be acting chair of this committee because Joyce has gone away. I'm going to start with a roll call. Tim Sullivan, the chair, is here. Tony Rodriguez? Tony Rodriguez is here. Kathy Ellers? Here. Jared Homer?
Here.
Judy Sullivan?
Yeah.
We have a quorum. The agenda is as follows. Item 1, Middle School Honors Academy. Item 2, other business. Mr. Thomas, you taking the...
Yeah, I'm starting, and then Dr. Zakowitz will be in to talk and do a PowerPoint on the proposed middle school honors academy. So, as you know, currently we have the TAG program, and we're not obviously going to eliminate that, but something in our district review and something in my goals as a superintendent is to expand the this opportunity for our students to take higher level classes. We have to continue to push. So in the district review, it was clear that we do not have enough spaces available to push kids, especially students of color, students with disabilities, English language learners, to take higher level classes. Right now we have the TAG program where students get in the third grade and they stay in the fourth grade. I'm sorry, they're tested in the third grade, they get in, they start in the fourth grade. They go to one school, they go to the Angelo for third, fourth, and fifth, and then they go over to the Plouffe for sixth, seventh, and eighth, and then on to Brockton High. So we're looking to bring back an honors academy, which would be at every middle school. We would let the students currently at the Plouffe would obviously stay at the Plouffe until they obviously move into high school. And then what we would do is allow every middle school to have an honors program. We would line it up with, and this will be in the PowerPoint, we would line it up with the Junior National Honor Society, which is a great opportunity. That started about 6 years ago, where it's a National Honor Society for middle schools. And we would expand this to all of our middle schools. So it would keep students in their neighborhood schools. It would provide students more of an opportunity to get into, higher level classes, push themselves. Right now, and you'll see in the PowerPoint, students can only get in. There's only one entry point into the TAG program. That's in the third grade going into fourth grade. There's no other entry points from that point. That's our process, and that's an internal process that, so if you have a student, for an example, if you have an English language learner that is in the bilingual program, and then, they're in the fourth grade, and then fourth grade, fifth grade, and now they're doing very well, they're not able to get into TAG at the Angelo because there's only one entry point. This program would allow multiple, entry points at any time. I mean, a student would be able to get into the honors program in the 8th grade, or if they move here. And if they move here now, they can't get into the TAG program because they weren't with us in the 3rd grade going into the 4th grade. So, Dr. Zakowitz has had a team. Todd Erickson is here, our coordinator of AP and honors programs and IB. Dr. Connors is here for actually the executive director of the secondary level. So to go into more of the details of what we have now and what we're looking to expand with. And again, I think it falls in line with the goals of the district. It falls in line with what was in our district review, that because of the very limited, the seats that we have, which are very limited, number one. Number two is there's no other entry points other than that 3rd grade going into 4th grade. And it really does not provide enough opportunities for higher level classes for students of color, students with disabilities, and our English language learners. So,
Is it better if I stay in the middle or go over there? Is that?
yeah, I'd probably sit right in Cynthia's seat. That might be
That-
good.
yeah.
Mike, just one question before
Yeah.
you turn it over. Is this going to take the place of the IB and the tag program, or this is something added on?
Well, the IB, it would take the place of the IB in the middle years program. So you have the middle years program, which right now, we technically have it, but we have not been, that hasn't been followed for the past several years, because it's just, there's a lot that goes into it, and it just hasn't been happening. So,
We're gonna also, that's also.
yeah,
in
and
this,
that's
so-
also in the
Oh, okay,
PowerPoint.
all right.
Yeah.
Judy?
I just had a concern, because Brockton has the TAG program, the IB, and there've been great programs for many years for these
But
kids.
You know what would help is to see it, and then what we're proposing, and then questions, because I think some of your questions may be answered in what we share, if
Right,
that makes
right.
sense.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah, I think, because I think once you start with questions,
Right.
then we're gonna jump all over the place. And
Right,
So I think we've
okay.
tried to, we've put it, this we've actually put together in the form of questions, because we thought those would be your questions. So I think we're really excited about this because it does represent the district goals, and especially around equity and access. And I know did you talk about the group that was part of this? I don't want to repeat what you had said. Okay. We started with a small group of us to look at issues of equity and access for all students at all levels. And so the group that first put this draft together, and then we expanded the group, was Sharon Wolder, who's the Chief Officer of Student Support Services, Michelle Connors, who's the Executive Director 6 through 12, because that's the age group that we're targeting. This is not targeting TAG, this is targeting the 6 through 12, 6 through 8. And then Todd Erickson, who is the coordinator of AP, IB, and TAG, and Maria Lafort, who's working with us on all instruction, is the instructional consultant, and myself. Then we broadened it to representation from the elementary school and the middle school, so that there's been a number of people that have weighed in. So let me just get to the business of it, and then that will help. And as I said, we tried to put it together in a way that would hopefully answer questions, but also I think you'll see it. It's just exciting to see, I think. It's a different approach. So let me call you back to what you saw recently. Two of the superintendent's goals with this school committee, your goals, have been, and this I heard in the very first meeting I met with you, was we need to get some consistency at the middle schools, and that was loud and clear. So this part addresses the inconsistencies with scheduling and curriculum, and so as Mike said to you recently, that was in progress, and that this is part of this addressing of the inequity, the consistency. But also equally important is an equitable access for all students for a range of rigorous learning opportunities. And so and we have a middle schools task force that's actually having its first meeting next week. So what is this that we're talking about? Well, here is the plan. It is about expanding accelerated opportunities. It's about creating an honors academy and a chapter of the National Junior Honor Society at every middle school. So it will not be about a group of kids going to one middle school and being bused across the city. It's something we can do for all kids at every middle school. So why an honors academy at every middle school? Well, the Brockton Public Schools, you all as its leaders, have made a district commitment to instructional excellence and equity. And an honors academy at every middle school raises the rigor across the city, and it increases access for all Brockton's kids. It also broadens the opportunities for more students. I'm going to come back to this in a minute and how that happens. This one I just heard as I stepped in. I heard Mike talking about this. It provides another entry point into our most challenging and rigorous courses. Currently, the entry point into the TAG program is at grade 3 when they're testing in. There are no other entry points. That's it. Why? I guess the answer would be because it's always been that way. I have to say, I grew up in Brockton and went to the Brockton Public Schools, and TAG was there when I was a student. So I was not in it, but I just will tell you that it was there. So this provides entry levels at, you'll see, I'm going to get very specific about how this is. So I think that's what will be exciting to you. The multiple opportunities for kids to enter programs. It also allows students to remain, and this has been one of Mike's biggest issues, and it was something he raised when he first talked with me about coming back. He was concerned about the kids being bused across the city, and so this keeps kids in their own neighborhood rather than busing them all over the place. So let me get to what currently is in place. And Mrs. Sullivan, this is sort of what you were asking just a moment ago. What is currently in place? Currently, and this still will be in place, the TAG program is located at the Angelo. This program is not addressing TAG at this point in time. This is just addressing middle schools. At grade 6, the TAG students move to the PLUF, where they enter into their, what was the International Baccalaureate Middle Years program. So all of those kids would go as a group to PLUF. But there were no entry points for other middle school kids. When they then move to Brockton High School, they can enter the honors program, the advanced placement program, the IB level courses. At Brockton High, it's open entry. There are no restrictions. Any kid can take those classes. It's about opening the rigor to all kids.
Except there's no IB at 9th and 10th grade.
Yes, a problem with the middle years program has always been, since it started, the IB design for middle years is 6 through 10. We have never had the 9 and 10 because we're in a separate school and it's a separate program. And we are accountable to the Massachusetts standards to take, the kids take the MCAS in the 10th grade. So that's always been a snag with what we've had. So they enter BHS, it's open entry. Now, currently, TAG has no middle school entry point. So think about this kid. And by the way, think about how many of these kids are in this situation. Think about an EL student who came in the 2nd grade, it could be any grade, but just for the example, they came in the 2nd grade not speaking English. Well, they can't test into, unlikely not going to test into the TAG program. By grade 5, they're fluent and brilliant and ready to rock and roll. There's no other entry point. So we were concerned about that. So now think about a student new to the district. If they move into Brockton at grade 5, too bad, too late. There's no entry point for this after the 3rd grade. So what will this structure be? Okay, so here's where I think it'll be clear what we're seeing for next year. It will be the same at every middle school. And there will be 4 essential requirements for this. And by the way, we will give you this PowerPoint afterwards too, so you have everything. So the students that choose to go into the Honors Academy, I'm going to talk about selection process in a minute, they will take 2 Honors Academy classes. So this will be the same at every middle school. They will take Honors Academy ELA and Honors Academy Math. But we also felt strongly we don't want to isolate kids. They should take other classes as well. They also should take a world language, and ESL should count as a world language for our English learners. They will be bilingual. They must participate in an after-school club or activity. It doesn't have to be school-connected. We want kids to be well-rounded. If they're in an after-school, if they're in, the scouting programs, or they're in clubs, dance club, whatever, as long as they're doing something else. And they will participate in the Honors Academy Advisory. Now, I'm going to tell you what that is in a few slides to come. But we want to provide supports for the kids that are taking this. So how are these Honors Academy classes different from our current advanced classes? Well, first of all, there is no Honors Academy in all the middle schools. There is only the IB program at PLUF, Middle Years program. This will now provide rigorous student-centered courses designed to develop critical and creative thinking through problem-based learning experience. And here's what we're tying it to, which I think it's a great way to design it. It will be aligned to, of course, the Massachusetts standards, but it will also line up with the National Junior Honor Society pillars, which we happen to believe in: scholarship, leadership, character, service, and citizenship. And who would not want their children to grow up with those values? So let me continue with how this is different. Well, it will be aligned to the Massachusetts standards. The courses will develop inquiry, analysis, collaboration, research, planning, reflection, metacognition. And specifically, in honors ELA, the students will read an advanced grade level text and complete a discovery and solution paper. And we're providing all kinds of guidance on all of these. I didn't figure you'd want to go quite into the weeds at that level. They're right. And in honors math, the students will apply problem solving and application of math concepts to real world problems. And in grade 8, they will all take Algebra 1, which is the 9th grade course at BHS. And think about the additional number of kids that will be moving ahead with that kind of accelerated learning, because it will be at every middle school. So who is eligible for this? Well, here's where it's very different than what's in place now. Grade 5 students, including students with disabilities and English learners from all Brockton elementary schools who meet the selection criteria, which I'll share in a moment, or who are currently in TAG, are eligible. So, of course, the TAG students will move into that, and they can, the kids that are currently in the program, they can stay right at Plouffe. We're not going to be moving kids all over the place if they don't want to. But current students in all middle schools can choose to apply. That's a big difference. So you take a student that's now in the 6th grade and says, this sounds really good to me. Good. It's about pushing and really challenging all kids. So what are the selection criteria? Well, the students must demonstrate scholarship. That's part of it. But the burden should also be on the student if they want to be part of this. So they will complete an entrance essay, these criteria will be reviewed by a panel appointed by the superintendent. So what does that look like? Well, for scholarship, there'll be various criteria, like we'll have a grading criteria. We still haven't worked out the details of what that will be, but they need to show scholarship. We can look at their STAR data. We can look at their MCAS scores if they're already in, by the later elementary grades. But the essay, I think, is one of the coolest things. The students themselves should submit an essay describing how they demonstrate the pillars of the National Junior Honor Society of scholarship, leadership, character, service, and citizenship. And we are going to provide, because we recognize this will be the first time that anybody's done anything like this, we're going to provide descriptions of each of these pillars, but we're also going to provide guiding questions so that it helps the students formulate their essays. They've never done this before, so of course we're going to give them exemplars for this. And students can apply to enter the Honors Academy at every year of middle school. So, for example, let's take a student who at grade 6 might not have wanted to enter for whatever reason. They didn't feel confident. They just didn't feel they were ready. So they can enter at grade 7. Why is there this cut? We didn't feel there should be a cutoff. They should be able to challenge themselves at any point. And if they meet the criteria and submit their essay, they can enter at grade 7 or grade 8. Then we want to support them, though. Because there will be more kids involved in this, we're going to set up an Honors Academy advisory, and that will provide support for all students in the Honors Academy for a couple of things. Yes, to help maintain their coursework, help them with their application to the National Junior Honor Society, and it will help them keep up with all the requirements. And this will be done the same way it's done at the high school. We have the Honor Society at the high school, the Brocktonia chapter. A teacher or a counselor is paid a stipend for being the advisor. That would follow the same model. They would apply and have the stipend. The advisor, and I think this is really a cool connection, the advisor would then connect with the Brocktonia chapter of the National Honor Society at Brockton High, and the high school National Honor Society members would serve as mentors to these middle school students as part of their commitment to leadership and service. So I think that's a really nice commitment. Now, how does this connect to the National Junior Honor Society? Well, every middle school would now have its own chapter of the National Junior Honor Society. And what does that require? It requires consistent bylaws that are set up by the NJHS, an advisor, which we would pay a stipend to, and a 5-member faculty council that's in existence at the high school now. It's volunteers. There would be student officers they would elect, and an annual induction ceremony, which would be cool, and we would hope you would all be part of. And an annual, the NJHS has a school membership fee that's $385 for each school. Not each kid, just each school. So it's a very reasonable price. And then each school's chapter would determine one service project for the year that their members would participate in. And so think about in your own wards, many of them may ask you what would be something you'd want to see in your own ward of the city. There might be a project that would do well in your ward. So, and this is at every middle school. So you're all going to have an honors academy in your schools. These chapter projects should fulfill a need within the school or community. They would have administrative support, of course, be appropriate and educationally defensible, be well-planned, organized, and executed. It would really, I think, benefit the community. So how will this connect to the honors, advanced placement, and international baccalaureate programs at Brockton High? Because that's what you hope is the feeder. Well, a goal of this district, and by the way, it was also mentioned in the district review as a problem, is that we need to increase participation in the AP and IB courses at Brockton High School. And I have to say, that this would likely, do I know that this would exactly do it? It would have likely increased enrollment at the high school level because these kids are already challenging themselves and feel more confident about taking those classes. And because of the rigor of these middle school honors classes, the students would be better prepared for the rigor of the high school classes. It's just, to me, it's a natural progression. When would this begin? Well, we're ready to go. This will begin in the spring of 2022. We will present this. We haven't presented, we've talked about it with the elementary principals and the middle school principals, but only briefly because we said we want to share it with the school committee first, and then, then tomorrow I'll send this out to all of the, the middle schools and elementaries as well. But this would be presented to current 5th grade students and their families, as well as 6th and 7th grade students. Leadership at every elementary school and middle school would be working to inform and recruit students. We would also provide exemplars for the application, since this is a new process, but the first honors academies would be in place in every middle school in September of 2022, which would be pretty awesome. So why is this a better option than what we currently have? Well, there are many reasons for that. And I know Mike was already starting to talk about that a bit at the beginning. The current structure severely limits participation. The primary entry point for our advanced level classes is the grade 3 tag selection process. So then those students go as a group from tag to enter the middle school at the PLUF in the MYP program, as it currently exists. That means students are bussed out of their neighborhoods. The IB middle years program has been a struggle for us because it must follow a highly structured curriculum designated by IB. Now, we've always had a problem with grades 9 and 10 because it has never fit. And also, it requires extensive teacher training at our expense. Speaking of expense, the IB middle years program is a very high-cost option. The annual dues alone are $10,050 a year, plus fees for training and materials. So it has been very costly to the district. And sadly, student outcomes do not support continuing with this model at the middle school because I just think it hasn't worked. I think the IB middle years program can be a very successful program in different districts. We must align to the Massachusetts standards, and PLUF is in turnaround status. So the middle years program has not done what we had hoped it would do for our kids in terms of the rigor. With an honors academy at every middle school, we can provide our own professional development in-house with little cost and designed by our own staff for our own students, closely aligned to the Massachusetts standards. And most importantly, what we put together will be adaptable. If we need to change something, we can change it. We are not allowed to change the middle years. Any IB program is set by them. It's not adaptable. You have to do it this way. So we can adapt it. If something's not working, we can change it. If we feel there should be more honors classes, we can add them. It's on us. It will be equitable. Everybody has access to it, so it's accessible and it's meaningful. Most importantly, it will promote the inclusion of all Brockton learners, including English learners and students with disabilities. If they meet the criteria, they can be part of it. Why not? It's for all Brockton students. It will not require busing of students beyond their neighborhoods. I like this, this is a good way to put it. It brings the Honors Academy to the neighborhood, not vice versa. Not you have to leave your neighborhood to get a better education. I mean, sadly, that's almost the message we were giving, which is not what we ever meant to give. It is a much more, I mean, this is a school committee. I know you're dealing with budget. This is a much more cost-effective option. The dues of MYP are $10,050 every year. The annual dues for the National Junior Honor Society are $385 per school, which is under $3,000. We can take care of our own teacher training and stipends. We will not have to do the IB training. And most importantly, the Honors Academy at every middle school expands the opportunity for many more of our middle school students to have access to our rigorous academic experiences. This model will provide access and equity, which improves school climate. I mean, think what it will do for all of the middle schools. It changes the tenor and tone of all middle schools. It improves school climate, relationships with parents and community. We feel it's what our students need now, and it absolutely is in line with what you heard from the district review about increasing access and increasing rigor. So why discontinue the middle years program at Plouffe? IB did a 2020 review, and a 2020 review conducted by IB determined that the Plouffe program was not meeting the IB standards. By the way, this is not about the high school IB program. The high school program is meeting the standards. It was the middle years program. And a big part of the problem is the structure of what should be in place by middle years. So here's the final comment, and then questions, and whatever, and Mike might have more to add as well. But we really felt like developing an honors academy at every middle school raises the rigor and increases access for all Brockton students, provides the district a more cost-effective option to better serve our students and the families. So that is the overview of what we would, we'll see in place in September of 2022, which we think is pretty exciting.
Just one question, Dr. Zak. What about the teachers? Are they already prepared for this?
Not yet. We're sharing it with you first.
Oh, okay.
So not yet, but they will be. And in fact, Todd Erickson, who is here, here's Todd. Todd is our coordinator of AP, IB, and TAG. And Todd will be putting together a teacher training before they even start this. So the answer is they will be, but right now they don't even know who they are. So the answer would be not yet.
Nice presentation, thank you.
And then I think it's important to note that students will still be entering TAG. And
Oh, yeah.
We're not touching grade 3, 4, and 5 TAG. It's just basically bringing this Honors Academy to all middle schools. And a big thing is that when they come out of it, they go through the Junior National Honor Society induction.
Yep.
Which goes a long way when they enter high school, for the National Honor Society, actually, when they, become high school students. And it will help as well with the early college we're looking to do, to get more
nice pairing
kids.
with
Yeah, it pairs well with the early college, which is our goal, is to get more students to be able to graduate with an associate's degree or at least 60 credits towards a bachelor's. Again, we're not making kids leave the Plouffe, and those students that are there now will, finish the program.
An Honors Academy,
Yep.
so they'll be given a choice. They can stay where they are because they've been at Plouffe.
Right.
Or if they prefer to go back to their neighborhood school, they can do that too. That would
Right.
be totally up to the families. What we don't want to do is yank kids out of schools
No.
that they've been comfortable in.
But their program would switch from TAG to this new program
Correct.
at the middle school level. At the middle school level.
Say that again?
The middle school students program would switch from TAG to the new
Not
program.
TAG, it would be, currently it's the IB middle years program. And at all the middle, there wouldn't be an IB middle years program. There would be an honors academy at every single middle school.
So that would change?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
And the things I like about this is, as the superintendent said, it would help with early college
Yeah.
program that we're trying to do. And I don't know if people know, but the charter school already has the early
I
college.
know.
So we are behind
Yep.
in
You are
that.
right.
And that is being,
You are exactly right.
broadcast everywhere that they have that.
We lose
And that's why we're losing students.
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, and that's been happening.
Yeah.
Which I don't know why DESI let them have early college and not us. That part I don't get. I don't get how DESI tagged us on not having a high-achieving program, with TAG has been successful for many, many years.
Yeah.
It's been around ever since my kids were in. My kids are in their 30s. Parents rave about the program, the TAG program. And they have been for years.
And yeah, and Mrs. Sullivan, the good thing about this is, it's like, it was around when I was in
Excuse me.
school, and me. and-
I'm the oldest
And,
person.
That's
you know,
what
and
I was surprised to hear.
And
that
at
it
that
was-
time, I mean, like, I was never in it, but it was at, I went to East Junior High, and there was at that time, it was called Advanced, which is the
Yeah,
same thing as
there
TAG.
were programs
You
at
know,
the-
this
all
Honors
the middle
Academy is just a different name for TAG. I mean, it's
Yep.
just, and it's basically, we had it in every, and when I went, when there was just the 4 old junior highs,
Yeah,
were the
me too.
only middle schools at the time, and every one had the advanced program at each one. This is kind of bringing that back.
Right, but I don't understand why we got tagged on that by DESI, because other school districts have nothing for high achievers. They have nothing. These kids are just in regular classrooms, and they're grouped in the classroom by high, medium, low.
You're right,
But
because.
but they don't have any kind of tag program
Yeah,
or
a lot of-
anything.
and this is what's
Many
so-
districts don't have that.
Right, and this is what's
Brockton
so good
is-
about this expanded to the middle schools is
Yeah.
because a lot of even districts around us that, you know, there's more, obviously, they're much better off with their household income, and they don't have middle school programs that have honors academies.
they don't have anything like
have
this.
The kids have to wait till they get to high school to get into AP or.
Right, and they don't have anything for English language learners. Brockton has
Right.
so much for kids that, and they have for years, So, I don't understand why they tagged us on that. 'Cause
Well, I
some of
would
the
say
stuff in their report I don't agree with.
We didn't do this because of the district review and DESI. We think this is better for Brockton's kids. However, I would say strategically, they will be pleased by seeing something like this. So I think it serves both.
Right, I think it offers more because
Yeah.
it will set us up for the early college.
Exactly.
It will give the kids a chance to be in the junior honor society.
Yes.
The cost is lower. If students weren't meeting the standards at the middle school level, then maybe this is another program to try.
Yeah. And
I hate to
I was at
see-
the high school for a million years. So
Yes.
many times we heard kids that were reticent to take some of the highest level courses coming in because they lacked the confidence. They were like, oh, I don't know, I wasn't in advanced classes and, in middle school. And I think they'll come with
With that program, yeah.
with that confidence. And
But I hate to see the tag program just kind of,
This isn't.
We're not getting
because
rid
it
of the
did
tag.
so good for so long.
Yeah, but we're not eliminating it. We're just expanding it now
Okay,
to.
and it's going to offer more positives
Right.
for the kids.
Right. Tag is staying the same at the grades 4, 5 at the elementary, and then when they're
So
now
they'll
in
have-
middle school, it's just expanding. You can call it tag. This is going to be called honors because you actually have the access to be in the Junior National Honor Society, which is more prestigious than just
Yes.
tag.
And then also they have to do the essay.
Yep.
Yep.
And then they do a test
Right.
too? Or,
Well, we haven't worked out all the selection criteria, but we'll look at what their testing was. We'll look at their grades. I mean, scholarship is a part of
Yes.
it, but I don't, I think it needs to be the whole package, not just, entrance shouldn't be based on just one test at
Right.
one time.
but also I don't think people should, because my child isn't in it, the honors program or the high program, then they feel slighted by that. The child should be where they should be. where they can achieve and where they're comfortable. And you can't just put them in a high-achieving program and expect them to highly achieve if they're not that kind of achiever. You know what I mean? I don't want kids pushed into something that they really can't handle, but their parents would sign them up for it.
Yeah.
The parents would pick it.
Well, I think the student essay piece of it will help with that.
Okay.
Jared, you had a question?
No, I was going to ask a question, but I was just going to echo what Mrs. Sullivan was just saying too. I think having the kids in their local schools allows for a lot more of that flexibility of movement. So if they do struggle, they're not leaving a school or
Correct.
someplace else. They're just staying within their school. Changing a class the following year to
Easier
somebody
to
else, a lot easier to change. So what I was going to ask is, is there any, just to confirm, they wouldn't require any additional, would there be any change to staffing among the middle years program staff at the PLUF and how that would affect disbursement of the program to the other middle schools? It would just be more about training the current teachers who are there just to take on the new program, to be those advisors, to fill in that position.
Right.
Okay.
There may,
Thank you.
the middle school, like, there's always changing staff at every year anyway, but
Not because of
not
this.
because of this. This is, there's teachers now that teach English and, ELA and math. It's just a matter of some training around, this is what we expect in the Honors Academy.
Kathy?
So I'm going to go back to my original question. What does the acronym TAG mean?
Talented and gifted,
Talented and gifted. Okay. And it's been around for about 30, 40 years.
long time.
Well,
yeah.
actually,
Okay.
more than that.
More than that? Okay. Thanks, Sue. So why not revamp TAG instead of creating a whole new program? Why?
This is revamping TAG. This is changing.
Is
to
that
this
what
middle
this
school.
actually is in terms of like just keeping it the same from 3 to 6th grade and then
3 to 5.
3 to 5?
I
and
actually
then-
4. It's
really
like that
4
in
and
4 to
5.
5.
Yeah, it's
I
really-
think
yeah, you're right,
eventually
4
we
and
have to
5.
look into what we offer at
Yeah.
at all elementaries. I think
That's exactly where I'm going
We
with
definitely
this.
have to. I think it's just too much to take on.
Yeah,
right
this
now.
year.
One step at
Yeah,
a time.
pace ourselves.
Yeah, and
But-
let's work out the bugs, and because nothing you start is ever perfect. You try to make it perfect.
But we're
there's a-
probably in the middle years, the middle school. We're probably, because there's no other entry points in it, because it doesn't exist at every school, and students can't leave when they're in the 7th grade. They can't leave south or west or
Yep.
north or east to get into PLUF because it's closed. They could only get in it at the end of the 3rd grade. So how many kids are we not pushing?
Yeah,
That could
and
actually, no, that actually
Yeah.
could be in those higher level classes. Again, like Sue said, they might not be ready for it when they enter the 6th grade, but now, especially if maybe they're an English language learner and now all of a sudden their English is high level and now they get into this honors academy in 7th and 8th grade. I think now, unfortunately, can't tell you a number on that, but I think we're leaving several hundred kids behind by not pushing them into these higher level classes with support. I don't think, going back to Mr. Sullivan's point, you have to make sure
Right.
we're supporting them, and we push them, but I just don't think we're selling kids short.
Yeah,
We're
I
not pushing them enough.
I think
because it's
it
limited.
sounds like TAG's been very intentional over the years, and so whenever you have you're really intentional about a program, it's going to work. And so if we put that same type of energy and intention behind this as just a continuation to the beginning stages of TAG,
Right.
it can't help but work. I do want to go back and emphasize what Jared and Mrs. Sullivan said. I do think, I'm an example of this. I never had the confidence to take an honors class. But when you're with your own group and your own friends, and you've
Right.
got a buddy that says, hey, if I can pass this, you can pass
Yeah.
this. Now all of a sudden you've got the general population saying, at least give it a shot.
Right.
Be in the same class with me. Take the same class. If you don't make it, you can talk to your guidance counselor and get out of it. Sorry, Jared.
Very
And so, but I do think there's going to be some of the organic, pushing from peers that will help with that because it's going to be everywhere and standardized. The standardization for me is huge. It has to be the same. It has to look the same, feel the same, be the same, regardless of what middle school you walk into.
I agree with you 100%. And every student in every middle school should have that opportunity, no question.
True. The only thing that I wanted to comment on is when you do decide about the extracurricular activities after school, my concern is I would want there to be some sort of waiver. And the reason I say that is
Oh.
because there are some kids that have, like, their jobs are to go home and babysit their sisters or brothers, and they can't do an extracurricular activity. And so I just think that
that
the one,
is.
exactly,
I-
and that's
you
what
know,
I'm saying.
That's why I think it's good.
Okay.
That's why I think we said inside in, outside is
Yeah,
good.
so I want to be clear on
Be
that
weekends
because,
at,
well
you know,
said. Good
weekends
point.
for their church, or weekends at
Yes,
a,
100%.
Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, I mean, there's,
Yes.
Yep.
at home, doing things for their parents, I mean.
yeah, I had younger siblings and, I had to take the bus home at 3 o'clock
Absolutely.
every day, and that was my responsibility for a long time, and that's okay.
Yep.
But I just wouldn't want anybody to be slighted that
Agreed.
truly, and to miss that opportunity, because I
agree.
do think this opens up opportunities.
Yeah, and I think it's important that, and the messaging is important, that
Absolutely.
this does not eliminate TAG. It's expanding it to be available at all our middle schools. And and then I think we see how this goes next year, and then we're gonna have to look at how we do it at the elementary level to expand it.
And just to be clear, like, I know that we are so hyper-focused on budgets all the time because that's our job, but the $10,050 would not bother me if it was working.
Yes.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't, like, that to me would not bother me if it was successful and the student outcomes were there. If they're not there, then you're right, let's try something else. But I just wanted to be clear, like, in terms of budget constraints, if it was working and we were getting strong outcomes, then it's worth every penny.
And I think because the middle years program of the IB right now, again, is not working, and there's nothing in ninth and 10th grade for it.
Yeah.
So I think a student coming out with a pin, or Junior National Honor Society pin for middle school, goes a lot further for them
Yeah.
than this middle years IB program that's just not working right now.
National Honor Society that's getting some clout.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right.
That's
right.
pretty serious, so I think it's fabulous. Nice job, Samantha.
Oh, wasn't just me, it was a whole group of, yep,
I'm sure.
yep.
Dr. Zach, one question. That membership fee, the $385, does that cover the curriculum as well?
It covers everything. It's like, it's quite a bargain, I think. Well, I mean,
Yeah, it
we
is.
would be developing our own curriculum for the classes.
Right.
But yes, that's all that NJH, National Junior Honor Society. I actually looked it up, Mr. Sullivan, because I thought, I'm so used to lots of zeros after numbers, right? And then I told one of the other, and one of the other people in the group said, per student? I said, no, per school.
Wow.
I mean, I just think that's but like you said, it's not about the money. You're right. If something is really working well, that's, of course, of course. But when you think about grades 9 and 10, I was principal when the middle years program came in, and we raised that even then. And so I think you were probably on the committee, Mr. Sullivan.
Yeah, I was.
As this is problematic because
There's nothing in the ninth and 10th
when
grade.
we're in separate schools, and in Massachusetts, in grade 10, the kids are taking a high stakes test. But that's, so it's different goals for different things. So I think this is a better fit.
And one more point, I think the one thing we've learned from the pandemic is that student success doesn't come from academic success alone. It comes from social success, it comes from support, and so keeping them together in their own schools and not busing them across the city, I think is
huge.
absolutely huge. I think that in and of itself is going to have such a positive impact.
That is one of the first things, like I said, when we first met, and it's like, I said, we've got to stop busing kids everywhere, so.
Dr. Zach, Mr. Thomas, what do you need from us?
I think Mr. Rodriguez has a question for us.
Oh, okay.
Great program. Thank you for the presentation. Is there a cap on the number of students, or is this?
Nope.
There's no cap. Great.
No,
Thank you.
no, we will open as many of those on, and let us hope, we have to keep coming back and saying, we have more, we need more, because, it's really an attitude about, yes, you can, and we'll help you. Yes, this is challenging, but you can do this, and we'll help you. And that, and I think the more the better.
Great. And the criteria of getting in, being involved in communities and groups and different sports. Now, Mike, if you can, either do we have like, you know, at the high school, we have the chess club, we have the linguistics clubs. Are we offering that at the middle
there's-
schools as well,
yep.
so they could just grow
Yeah,
right into it?
you all
I'm
put
missing
the
them.
money back, like that money was cut during the real thin years, and then the last couple of years, last 3 years, you've put a lot of money back into middle school, after-school programs.
So important.
They're back, you know, their clubs are back, they've developed new clubs, you know, so all the middle schools now pretty much have the clubs that they want, they need, they're funded, and they'll be, obviously, in this year's budget, they'll be funded as well. Yeah, and they're open, and I tell the middle school principals and associates and the assistants and to tell their teachers, I mean, if there's new clubs they want to come up with, ideas, then do them. Yeah, if you got the kids that are interested in it and you have an advisor, then like we did it here at the high school when I was here. If you had an idea and it was good and you got kids to come and you have an advisor, then have the club.
Yeah. Although
So-
we did, when the step club was right over in the classroom, right over our
Yeah,
heads,
that,
that
yeah,
was tough.
the step dancing club, yeah, that was loud.
Thank you.
But you're right, the more the clubs, more clubs we have, the more after-school opportunities, the better.
What do you need, a motion from us to go forward with this?
Sure,
or
I
is
think
that what
that,
it-
yeah, I think that would be helpful.
Yeah. What you would be a motion to move forward with the middle school honors
Honors Academies.
academy.
Do you want to make that motion, Mr. Rodriguez?
I make a motion to approve the Honors Academy in all middle schools in the city, Brockton.
Perfect.
Gotta say Brockton.
That's it.
A motion has been made and properly seconded. A motion is to move forward with the honors program at Brockton Public Schools. By a show of hands, all in favor? Motion carries unanimous.
Thank you. No, Sue is fine. I'm really, Sue.
Any other business to come before the subcommittee? Item 2 on your agenda?
Business to quick talk about, and did I mention something earlier? I can't
I
remember.
don't think so, not for curriculum.
Okay.
That's it?
For curriculum, yeah.
For curriculum, I think that's all. Yes, that is all.
We need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to-
anybody.
Motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
A motion's been made and properly seconded to adjourn. All in favor? Motion carries unanimous. Meeting's adjourned. Welcome to the Facilities Subcommittee meeting at the Brockton High School Little Theater. It's Tuesday, March 1st, 2022. The agenda is number 1, Brockton High School MSBA Statement of Interest, and number 2, any other business.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. So, Dr. Cobb's, and with your approval and the city council approval, last April submitted our second statement of interest to the MSBA, Mass School Building Authority, for replacement or renovation of Brockton High. It's called their core program. The results of they told us when we didn't get it the first time, it usually takes 3 to 4 years of applications to finally get into the feasibility study piece. Submit Dr. Cobb's on the behalf of the school committee in the city to approve us to put another statement of interest in for the 2022 core program. It's due on March 24th, so we would need the facility subcommittee to vote. Then tonight at the full school committee, we would pull it off and vote for the full school committee, and that sends it to the city council because they have to approve us submitting the SOI as well. So that's why we're here.
Just the medical center that we talked about last meeting being put out front,
Out back now.
out back, would that affect us at all?
No, because they would, and we were informed, and I can bring that up on the other business that's delayed, but that would not affect us. What would happen is, when we get approved, whether it's this year, next year, the city then has to enter into the feasibility phase with the MSBA, which is it's a 2-year process, where they come in with engineers, architects, designers, and they evaluate from top to bottom the current Brockton High School, and then they'll they'll look at the student body, as how many, they do a square foot, like how much room you need per student, which is bigger than it was years past. And then they'll come in and tell you, they'll say, listen, it's going to be this much, because we get 80% reimbursement from the state.
Right,
They'll come in and
right.
say it's going to be this much for a brand-new Brockton High, or we're going to suggest that you build 2 Brockton Highs, or it's going to be more feasible to build, basically renovate the current structure. It's basically because they're paying the 80%, they actually will pretty much tell you what they're willing to pay for. Like, we'll give you 80%, but we want to see a new building, or we want to see 2, or, and that's the feasibility part of the process that takes 2 years. And it's totally the community, if the community gets involved at that point for their input, all the elected officials, people in schools, everybody gets involved at that point, and then they basically come back with the feasibility study saying, these are your options, and then you have to decide how to move forward.
This would be the third time?
Yes.
Did they say why they turned it down?
The first time we had a meeting after we didn't, Claire Cronin got us a meeting with the MSBA leadership after the year 1, so that was last year. We had a Zoom with them, and they talked about usually it takes schools 3 or 4 times to apply. So the schools that were picked last year, the schools that were picked this year, some of them were they're in their 5th time or 6th time trying. Some of it also has to do with their budget. So obviously they budget a certain amount a year for renovation or brand new schools, and they budget a certain amount a year for boilers, windows, and roofs. And they look at their budget, and they probably say, if we approve Brockton High, knowing, in 2 years from now, it could be a $600 million project, and we give them 80%, we got to be ready to be budgeted for that. So it could be them hedging their bets a bit, waiting for the infrastructure bill to come out, because there is money there for schools, so that could be something they're, maybe wanted to give us another year. So I really can't say why or why not, but they did tell us it usually takes 3 to 4 tries to get accepted.
Do you have a ballpark figure? what it would cost to renovate?
If you,
The price has got to go up from last year to this year.
to renovate, it would, a renovation would probably somewhere between 300 to 400 million.
Wow.
And then obviously a new school would be probably 500 to 600 million. And then if they say build two, it could be 350 million each school. So again, I'm far from an architect or
But the longer they wait, the cost just keeps on going up.
oh yeah, with the construction costs now, that's probably something else that they took into consideration with their budget. They get their budget from, I think it's 0.5 cent on the gasoline tax that they get, and then they take into consideration how much reimbursement like every school district's different. Like in East Bridgewater gets like 50%. A place like, probably a place like, Newton would get maybe a 25% reimbursement. We get the full 80%. So they take all those numbers into consideration depending on their budget each year. But one thing they did say, and they said it last time, they said it this time, that our application's very comprehensive, very well put together. Dr. Cobbs does a great job putting that in. We don't really have to do anything other than change the date. It's an extensive document, pages and pages, but it's pretty much, get the approval, because you have to submit the application with the vote, the certified vote of the school committee, and then the certified vote of the city council.
I'm not sure if it's you, Mr. Thomas, or Dr. Cobbs. What would happen at Brockton High School when they start the renovations? Where would the kids go?
Well, I think if they did a renovation, it would have to be done in phases. They would probably, because we've asked them if we do a renovation, if they were going to keep this school and renovate it, then you would have to do a phased renovation where they would, we asked for like a STEM wing. So they would build like a STEM wing first while the kids are still going to school here. And then they would probably open the STEM wing and say like the yellow building would go into the STEM wing for maybe 8 to 12 months so they can renovate the yellow, and then they would have to do it in that kind of a process. And that's what they take into consideration when they put this in place, is how much it's going to cost, how much you're going to move kids around. So that's all part of the feasibility study. So that's why it takes 2 years. Like, people have to understand, even when we get approved, the day you get approved, so I think the results will come probably sometime in the early fall. So we'll apply now. We should know in September if we're accepted. Then once you're accepted, you wouldn't see a shovel go into the ground for at least 2 years, because they spend that long working with us and working with the community on exactly what's the most feasible way to do this. And that includes, athletic fields, parking, obviously, all handicap accessibility. That all goes into the project.
Does anybody have any questions? Judy or Tony?
Mike, can you just, I was at a ward meeting earlier this week. Can you just, touch base as far as the application process, like step 1 or step 2?
Yep.
How it translates, it's, been a question, on social media, and it was a big topic at the ward meeting. People asking, why we don't have a brand new high school or is renovated. For those that are watching or watch later on.
So they call it, the application's called the Statement of Interest. And so basically, there's 2 programs that the Mass School Building Authority has. They have a renovation or new build program. It's called the Core Program. And then they have a acceleration program. It's called Rapid Repair now. And that's what we did, the Raymond, the Davis, we did,
North.
Going on 10 years ago now. We did 8 schools, Brockton High being one. We did 8 roofs. We did window jobs here at the high school. We did a window job at the Downey.
North?
We did North. So there was 8 schools at the time. Hancock, Downey, West was done, North was done, East was done, Raymond Davis. So that's the accelerator repair. That only covers windows, roofs, and boilers. We just had that with the Huntington. So that's one piece, and obviously that's a much smaller cost. And then you put the application in, they have a committee of people who go over that. And they look, I think they pretty much, they look at their budget and say, you know, here's Brockton High. We know that they have 4,000 students. They know right now we're in a building that has 365,000 square feet of space. And if you now build a building to now MSBA standards, and I don't know the exact standards which are listed now, they get a square footage, how much square feet you need per student. And then they obviously times that by your student body. And then they put a construction cost on that, because there's a square foot construction cost for schools. And then they say, okay, that's a pretty big price tag. And we know that Brockton gets 80%. So the state pays 80%. So they pay 80 cents on the dollar. We pay 20 cents. So that's why they look at your application, they factor in their budget, and I think that's how they determine whether we get in or we don't get in that year. But it usually does, like, for example, they gave me, like, East Bridgewater was on their 5th time before they got their new high school. West Bridgewater was on their 4th time before they got their new high school. But before it, and then it's got to come back to the city, because they'll say, okay, the price tag for, let's say they want to build a new Brockton High and the price tag's $550 million. Then they'll come back to the city and say, okay, 20% of that is your share. Can you bond that, or do you have to go to an override? And that's where the city has to make a decision along with the elected officials and obviously the taxpayers on whether or not because 20%, even though it's only 20%, it's going to be 20% of a big number.
Large.
It's a big number. So for every 100 million of a project, it's 20 million for the city. So if it's obviously if it's a $500 million project, the city's on the hook for 100 million of it, and that's and you know me, how I feel. If we get it, we got to do it, because we're long overdue. So. So hopefully once we submit this, we should know in September, and so that's the process we have to go through. So they have a committee of people. That's the treasurer. I can't think of her name now. The treasurer of the state.
Is it
Goldberg? Is it?
Goldberg?
Yep. She's the head of. She basically is, her department oversees the MSBA. And then we have Jack McCarthy, who's the executive director of the MSBA. Really good people to work with, and they've been really good to Brockton. Again, we've done several projects with them between the Huntington and, like you said, Mr. Sullivan, the roof, actually there were 9 roofs and boilers we've done. We did the windows at the Barrett Russell, so we did windows here at the high school. So we've done a lot of work with them. This will be. They did MSBA did the work, the schools, the Baker, the George, the most recent one.
Yeah.
So they're very good to work with and always very supportive. But I think it's going to take a couple times 2-3 times to apply before we can.
I just wanted to explain to Tony how the process works, Tony. If we recommend it here at this meeting, then it goes to the full school committee.
No, I know that.
And the city council is involved?
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Yeah,
Just so you, I didn't know if you.
No, I was just having Mike explain it because I was at a ward meeting. I explained it, and the question keeps coming up on social media. So I just wanted to make sure that
it's a
the
good
public knows the process. It's not, people are blaming the city officials that we're not.
Yeah, right. We're not holding.
We're not. We're holding this up. It's
Yeah,
not us.
this is the third
It's-
time
Yeah,
on the high
Yeah,
school.
third time.
that's the reason why I asked. And said,
Right,
I know
and
the
this- and
process.
this-
Thank you, Tim.
Until the state accepts it, the city officials can't. And let me be clear, like the school committee, the city council, the mayor,
All
they've
had to be
always
on board.
support. Every application has been fully supported by both bodies and the mayor. Every application we ever submitted to the board. I've been doing this, submitting applications since 2010. Every SOI, and there's been probably now 15, 16 of them, or maybe close to 20, has been fully supported with no dissenting votes by the school committee, the mayor, and the city council. For every application that we've brought forward to be submitted has been fully voted on by both bodies. So, that the city needs to, and the community should know that, nobody wants wants a new Brockton High more than us. And it's important for our kids in the community, and as we know, Brockton High just doesn't only support the students, it's so many community activities go on here, which is very important. Youth activities, adult activities, enrichment programs, adult sports, youth sports. It just, it's kind of, it's the showcase for the city, and it's important that we get a new one, and we get one that really displays, the greatness of the city, and that includes, athletic fields that fit a school this size. And
You had said it before, Mike, that Brockton High School is the most rented out public space in the city.
Yep.
For everything. I know
Right.
AAA.
Never closes.
AA, everything is in there.
Yeah, it never closed. We use it 7 days a week, and
24 hours a day.
Pretty much 24/7, and it goes to 10 o'clock at night activities, and Saturdays and Sundays as well. So, no, and then, again, everybody wants a new one.
So do we.
Yep.
We need a motion from somebody.
I
Tony?
think it's a motion that has to be, this is the language we have to use in the SBA.
Make a motion to authorize the superintendent to submit to the Massachusetts School Building Authority the statement of interest, form dated March 24th, 2022, for Brockton High School, 470 Forest Avenue, Massachusetts, which describes and explains the following deficiencies in the priority categories for which the application may be submitted to the Massachusetts School Building Authority in the future. Brockton High School full renovation, and hereby further specifically acknowledges that by submitting this statement of interest form, the Massachusetts School Building Authority in no way guarantees the acceptance or the approval of the application, the awarding of a grant or any other funding commitment from the Massachusetts School Building Authority, or commits to the city, town, regional school district to filing an application for funding with the Massachusetts School Building Authority.
Second.
A motion has been made and properly seconded. Just by a show of hands, all in favor? And just for the records, we do have a quorum. Myself as chair, Tim Sullivan, Judy Sullivan, and Tony Rodriguez. There is a quorum, and that motion carries unanimous.
So tonight, we'll pass this on to the full school committee. Melinda, we put that under unfinished business? How do we usually put that? It's in the report, right? It will be under my report, where we would have to, Mr. Rodriguez would make the same motion. This is the language that we have to pull right from the MSBA, and this is actually the same exact language that the city council has to vote on. And the city council represents, it will be brought forward by Mr. DiAugustino, our old friend, will bring this and sponsor this in front of the city council, and it will be on within the next 2 weeks, because we have to get the application in by the 24th of March. So it's a quick turnaround. The good news is this is the quickest turnaround they've had. So what it sounds like, they want to start to approve new schools and welcome in newer schools much earlier than before. They used to wait a whole year where we wouldn't hear anything until the next spring. This one we'll hear in the fall.
I'm hoping they have
We're about
plenty of
6
money for
months
this one.
ahead of.
They're
Yeah,
gonna
and
need-
again, by that time, I think we'll know more about the infrastructure money that was, the infrastructure bill, which I haven't heard much at all about as far as, but I did hear when the federal government approved it, there was money in there for school renovations and new schools. So we're hoping that some of that obviously helps the MSBA with their funding as well.
Item 2, any other business to come before the subcommittee?
Did you have something else, Superintendent, for other business? I thought you had something else for other business. No? Maybe that was the last meeting, I don't know.
I think it was the last meeting.
Okay.
Yeah. But we will, under other business facilities, other business, what we mentioned earlier is the Brockton Neighborhood Health Center. We're supposed to get their modular building in June. That is now delayed. No, actually, it was supposed to come in, I think, May. That's been delayed to June. It's probably going to be later than that. So I'll give you an update, but it's been delayed at least 3 months. So, and that's been pretty much par for the course with any construction project. So, you know, and then Dr. Cobbs will come before you and talk to you at another meeting about, there's a couple things we want to bring up one is this work we'll be doing in some schools this summer with the pod schools finally finishing the build outs. And then also we want to come forward with a plan that we want to bring forward to the city council for some turf fields for the old Ford Junior High. So that will come to this committee, and also the sports committee is an extracurricular activity committee as well. But those will be coming up soon that we want to get in front of the city council to propose 4 turf fields for the 4 middle schools. The 4 Compass middle schools, they call them. So that's all I have in other business.
Any questions from anybody? We need a motion to adjourn and a second.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
A motion has been made and properly seconded. By a show of hands, all in favor? Meeting's adjourned, unanimous.
I hereby call the school committee for Tuesday, March 1st, 2022, it being 7 p.m. I'm going to ask everybody to please stand and salute our American flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would ask everybody, please stay standing. The city of Brockton lost an educator today, a coach, a mentor, principal, former principal of Brockton High School, Eugene Merrill. Mr. Merrill was just an unbelievable person. So on behalf of the entire city, to his immediate family and to his friends and families, including my chief of staff, his sister-in-law, Cindy Merrill, if we could take a moment to honor Mr. Merrill. May he rest in peace. Thank you, everybody. I do just want the minutes to reflect the vice chair, unfortunately, is unable to join us tonight. I do want to thank Ellen, the student representative, for being here. Good to see you again, Ellen. We will get into it. I first have to establish a quorum. Mrs. Sullivan? Mr. Homer?
Here.
Zales?
Here.
Mrs. Rivas Mendez?
Here.
Mr. Rodriguez? Mr. Sullivan?
Here.
Chair says here, so we have established a quorum. Hearing of visitors, which is agenda item number 2. I've asked Mrs. Campbell, and she's confirmed there are no hearing of visitors this evening. So now we can actually go on to agenda 3, which is the consent agenda, and it's A, B, C, and D. Are there any members of the school committee that would like to take any of these out of order? Any of them willing to take it collectively?
I make a motion that items A, B, C, and D be approved as written.
Motion was made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion, that was 2 seconds, that was good. I'm going to give Mr. Homer that one. Motion was made by Mr. Sullivan, probably seconded by Mr. Homer. I will just read before we take a vote. A is the approval of February 8th, 2022 school committee meeting minutes. B is the acceptance of notification of personnel appointments, certified personnel. C is the acceptance of notification of personnel appointments, non-certified. And D is the acceptance of notification of personnel actions, leaves of absences, resignations, and retirements. We have a proper form of a motion. It was seconded. All in favor, kindly raise your hand. All opposed, that motion carries. A, B, C, D are approved. We will now go on to agenda 4, which is report of superintendent of schools, Mike Thomas. Mr. Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So first, we want to start with our great student representative, Ellen. So thank you for being here, a BHS student. She's going to give us an update on how things are going and what's going on and things we can look forward to this spring and all the fun activities we have going on.
So good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having me tonight. I hope you're all doing well. So I'll just talk about some of the events that took place and will be taking place this school year. So the Senior Executive Committee has worked very hard and planned some events for the seniors, which include a field day and a drive-in movie. So they have also worked with the Jam Club, which is a club where students get together to sing, play instruments, and they have worked together and organized an open mic, which will be held this Friday, March 4th, after school. And it's really nice to know that we can utilize with the property we have. Like, for example, we have like such a big stadium and which is just great for the field day. We have a huge parking lot, which will be great for the drive-in movie. Also, the boxing club and the photography club are 2 new clubs that we have. We kind of talked about this last time, but they surprisingly got very popular. If you come visit the school, you will see so many photographs of students and staffs, and in a way, they bring some type of like positivity and light to the school. Also, the boxing club is so packed. So many students join that now like we don't even have enough equipment for the students. Before vacation, on February 11th and 12th, the Drama Club performed 3 plays, The Selfie, The Magic Hour, and The High Stakes, which was directed by 3 of our students. And they will also be competing in the METG Festival with their new show, The Big 11, on March 19th. Also, students who worked hard and had great academic performance, they earned a recognition to the honor roll. And on February 17th, they were able to attend an assembly in the auditorium where members of the concert band and choir performed. So this is all that I have for now. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak and share the student perspective of Brockton High School. We still have a really long way to go, but I believe that we're in a positive direction and in the right direction. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And just to follow up on the Honor Roll Assembly, it focused on Black History Month. And Michael Smith from Director of Music, Principal Burns, and the team did a great job, and the students did a great job putting it together. And Renee Haywood was the keynote speaker, so the students did, it was great. Renee did a great job. The students did a great job with their presentation. So it was a great day. It was done twice. It was done in the morning for 2 grades, and then it was done in the afternoon for another 2 grades. What was it, 9th and 10th together, and 11th and 12th, or 9 and 12, and then grades 10 and 11 together. And obviously, we still, obviously not packing the auditorium at that time. So they split it into 2, and they did the same program for both. So I was able to attend the afternoon one, and it was really well done. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just also want to thank Ellen and a lot of the class officers and Principal Burns. I was fortunate enough to come up here right before vacation. Of course, it was Black History Month in February, and it shouldn't be a month. It's 365 days of the year. But the Liberty Tree here in Brockton, everybody knows, I think, the history of the Liberty Tree. But to my amazement, I was able to find some pieces of it stored in the basement of a hotel that was selling, and I was able to have the DPW sever some. And I went to all the different schools. Brockton High got the biggest piece, I do want to say that. But I just want to thank all of you for welcoming me and really being so engaged in the history of Brockton and Underground Railroad and Frederick Douglass and William Lloyd Garrison. So it was great to see you and your colleagues. So thank you very much for what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you. So next, I'm going to bring up Chief Officer of Student Support Services, Sharon Wolder. She's going to present to you on the accelerated learning opportunities we have for our students. There's several, and she's going to go over a few for you, and just things we're doing to obviously help our students recover from the COVID slide. But it goes well beyond just recovering from COVID. It's just what we should be doing for our kids all the time is accelerating and providing them with extra opportunities after school and on Saturdays, to obviously accelerate their learning and make them well-rounded learners. So thank you, Sharon.
Absolutely. Good evening. This thing on. You can hear me okay? Oh, that's better. Now I can tell it's on. So it is exciting to hear all of the fabulous things happening at Brockton High School, and this will add to some of that fabulousness, but also include other things that are happening for students in other schools throughout the district. And I was hoping that Cedric Turner would be here, because that's part of what we're going to be talking about this evening. But as always, we go back to what are we focused on? We're focused on effective instruction, active reading and writing, and positive relationships. And those positive relationships are key to getting us to that effective instruction and making sure that reading and writing is rigorous and relevant to our students. And so tonight we're going to take a look at the partnership that we have with Empower Yourself. And one of the things that we wanted to make sure that we highlighted with Empower Yourself was the fact that Cedric Turner, who is the owner of Empower Yourself, has actually been working in this district with us for over a decade. And so he has been able to bring to us a number of opportunities for students to participate in. And so since he's not here, you can see him in the picture, and I will talk about him when I actually see him to say, you were supposed to be here, so I wouldn't have to talk about you all by myself. But one of the things that I wanted to highlight and let you all know is that he just received an award, a Trailblazer Award from AIAA, which is the American Institute of Aeronautic and Astronautics. And so with that comes some more information that I will share with you down the line, because it does come with an award for the school system. And so what are we talking about? We're talking about how do we build those positive relationships that lead to partnerships that give access and equity to our students. If you were here earlier and we were talking about having honors programs across the district. That is the access and equity. And some people said, why do you need it everywhere? Because access needs to be everywhere. And so what we try to do is make sure that our students have opportunities that students in other communities have, other districts around the country have, and some of them are actually competing nationally in a number of the things that have been brought to the district. So that access, that equity, accelerated learning, we have been talking about this for quite a while. And how do you accelerate learning? You have to give those opportunities beyond the classroom to apply what you've been learning. And so these are those times when the students get to go out and what they've learned in a classroom, they get to apply in real world situations. And so then we have current and future opportunities for them, and that takes them right back to building their own positive relationships and partnerships. And so for over a decade, over 500 students have benefited from Empower Yourself programs, and that includes financial literacy at both the middle school and the high schools, economic symposium. Well, look who showed up. Welcome, Mr. Turner. And so financial literacy for middle and high school students, the economic symposium for the middle and high school students. We've had aviation camps for several years, engineering opportunities that have been supported by a number of institutions for our middle school students. A lot of these things happen on weekends. Saturdays are busy days for a lot of our students who participate in a number of these things. We've had STEM camps that run in the summer and all year long. The coding competition, which I believe you heard about, that happened very recently this school year with our middle school students being able to go to the Museum of Science and compete at the Museum of Science. We currently have a drone competition team that somehow I ended up as the assistant coach of, because when the opportunity came, I wasn't going to say no because it's for the kids. So fortunately, they'll be better at it than I will be, but we want to make sure, again, that they have access. And then we have a satellite challenge team that we just started. And so these are some of the things that are going on. You see the picture there is actually of the students at Bentley University on the trading floor there. And so when we talk about getting them to those places and having them a chance to apply what they've learned, this is what it looks like. And this is how building those relationships make a difference for our students. And so who's participating? It's open to everyone, and there are schools that have taken full advantage of everything that has been brought to the district, others that are coming on board, and some that we're still saying, here it is, here it is. So when we talk about the honors academies at every middle school, and the question was, will there be extracurricular and other opportunities for students? There already are, and we'll continue to expand that. So you see a number of our middle schools, our high school participation, and we just received a grant from the Department of Education to do a financial literacy program at Champion High School. So it's expanding across the high schools as well. Wow, that was quick. I guess I'm done. All right, so what does it bring to us? Through Empower Yourself and Mr. Turner, our students have had access to Bentley University. And again, being able to go on the trading floor. They've been able to attend Black History Month programs there. They've had access to some of the professors and deans at Bentley University who have really encouraged them in their pursuit of higher education. iRobot has been providing coding opportunities for our students. They provided robots at one point for our kids to learn to code. They are our trainers for, they provided the drones for the drone competition team, and MIT Lincoln Labs are the trainers. So we have engineers who come to us on the weekends, during the summer, and they are the people who are actually living in those jobs, telling students what it's like to do those jobs, and then helping them see how the skills that they're building are useful beyond just getting the grade that you get in a class. It really is about helping them understand where they're going next. And so they come down and work with our students. Northeastern has done a Saturday engineering class for a few years and continues to support the work. Fidelity has worked with us quite a bit, especially with our financial literacy work and economic symposiums. Citizen and Eastern Bank have also been involved with us. The Federal Reserve Bank of Boston. The students have been at the JFK Library for a number of competitions. The picture that you see there happened recently. That was Worcester Polytech Institute bringing their rocket team to Brockton High School, and it was open to all of the students in the community to be able to go and learn from rocket scientists about being rocket scientists. And so those are the types of opportunities we really want to make sure our students have. Raytheon has been key in supporting us in the past, and NSBE has also been key in that. So we wanted to make sure that you just had a chance to take a glance at, and I won't read everything to you, so you can see for yourself some of the comments that people have made. But this was on a Saturday, and again, when we talk about accelerated learning, it can't all happen in the 6.5 hours students are in school, and we understand that. And so to give them those chances to really engage with people who are doing the work, and here we are with all engineers and scientists, but everything is very hands-on. They didn't bring computers. They brought manipulatives, and they taught students about space science through a camp on Saturday. And so we had about 60 students participate in that camp, and they had engineers who looked like them. They came with a very diverse group of people in the field of engineering doing different things, and they had an opportunity to get their hands into it, build some things. We were making lightsabers. I said we because the child in me jumped right in and was like, hey, I want to play too. And it felt like play, but you're actually learning real skills that you can go into the workforce and apply. And so there's some of the work of our drone competition team. They are almost all Brockton High School students. We meet at the 440 Belmont Street location, which is currently where Promise is housed on Saturdays. And they are learning how to build the drones. It came in a bunch of little nuts and bolts in a box. And 2 weeks later, after things were dropped on the floor and lots of laughs, they put it together. And they put it together confidently. And then the next step was, now I have to code it so I can fly it. And so there were students working on how to code the drones so that it wasn't you taking a remote and making it move, but you pressing a button on the computer and the thing would do whatever you told it to do. And so they were working on that. And then they also have to learn how to fly it. And so they will be competing in April against teams across the country. And so we wanted to make sure that our team had access to everything that they needed. And so the people who are supporting us at MIT, every time we say we need something else, they send more people or they send more help. And they are as committed to our students being successful when they go and compete against students who have had access to things for years. They are as committed to it as we are. And so that's how we spend our Saturdays. And then mark your calendars, coming soon is the Economic Symposium. And so we have, last year we had students, those are the winners from last school year, and Brockton High School students took first place and third place at the Economic Symposium. And they had to do it working remotely. And so they didn't get to come together as teams typically would. They had to do everything remotely. They had to prepare and present remotely. And they had to do that for the last 2 years to continue to be part of this. And so even in our toughest times, we were still making sure our students were accessing opportunities that other students have. And so it's coming up again, and we have students preparing to go and compete again against schools across the country for the Economic Symposium. And this is, again, our opportunity not only to say thank you to Mr. Turner, but to highlight the fact that when we get the relationship piece right, the rigor is there, the acceleration is there, and most importantly, the opportunities for our students will come. So any questions? Mr. Turner, I don't know if you wanted to say anything now that you've arrived.
Sorry I'm late.
I think I've used that one before too. All right, so but I'll take any questions, or they might be questions that Mr. Turner can answer.
I'll take any, have anything or questions.
You have to speak into the mic.
People are watching from.
Yes. So on March 25th is our the type of some type of symposium, and it's really was amazing because Mike here was at the very first. In fact, was one we had done 8 whole years ago, right out there in Fox Effect Borough. And so I came into Mike, and at that time, John, in fact, Jerome. And at that time, we was only a Western program, in fact, the type of middle, in fact, school. So I said, well, I'm going to take some kids from the eighth grade, from the Ashfield, and also the Pluff. And I'm going to put them in this high-end, the high school, the type of competition. Remember that? And they said, oh my God, our kids is going to get killed. Because we was going up against Lexington High and Latin and Buckingham, Brown and Nichols, prep schools in Rhode Island and Connecticut. And there was about 80 teams out there. And we had kids in the 8th grade. And that was our first type of competition. Well, out of the 80 teams, we got the 8th, in fact, place. And the people went crazy. They're like, how can middle school kids, they can't be in middle school. And the news people went out there and asking questions. And I said, no, these here kids can have it done. And I said, the reason is because we had that top layer of kids who could have gone anywhere. And those kids now are going to be coming out in May, graduating from Tufts. We have a kid coming out in Tufts. We have a kid coming out in the type of Harvard. We have one coming out of Carnegie, went to Mellon. So those were those top tier of kids. And we have to keep those their kids. And we are kind of losing them. Okay? So, and we're kind of losing them because these here people around here do not know of us. They don't know what we up there do. And if they did, and once we have them told, they're like, wow, you guys have that? And so our some type of symposium this year is now where New York, New type of Jersey, Providence, Chicago, New Orleans, Los Angeles. It's truly a national competition. 180, in fact, kids from across the country. And all of those schools is after us. We got to get Brockton. They have been winning this thing, and I brag and I boast all across the country. Your type of kids is going down. So Chicago think that they got Obama's people teaching their class. They got all these economists. It's not going to help you. You're going to lose, right? So we have a great attitude, and that is going to be March 25th. It's going to be live, in fact, streamed, and I'll make sure everyone have it so you can have it, watch it live. So you can watch the competition live as it happens. We also going to have after the symposium, so our kids do not take a rest. So we have three competitions now that they are getting ready for. They're getting for the economic symposium in March. We got the drone competition in April. We got the type of satellite competition in May. And then after that, we have our type of camps. And our camps is going to be much larger this year because we are going to have even more. But I can't say enough about the support I get from Mike, who is constantly asking me, what do you need? And he gives me everything I need between him and also Mr. Fat Waters. I get whatever I need. Except, so is there any questions? I'm sorry, I've been talking too much. Is there any questions? Yes.
So I have a question. I feel like a lot of my friends and a lot of the students would want to be part of these like opportunities, but wouldn't know like where they wouldn't know where they can access them. So how can
Well, I
they,
didn't hear you, ma'am. I'm sorry. Can you say it again?
where can they read more and like about like these opportunities and these programs? Like, because you mentioned a lot of like, you know, programs and competitions, but how can students sign up for them? That's my question.
Well, we're at the high school. If kids are at the high school, there is announcements made about our meetings. We meet every single Wednesday at the high school. Where all of the, in fact, the middle school principals know of us. There is not one single middle school principal who do not know of us. So if a kid wants to go to his middle school and say, hey, I am very interested in this, I don't know if they post what did we do in every single middle school. Mostly we're at the right now we're at the Ashfield, we're at North, we're at South, and we're at the type of Davis. But whenever we have these things. Oh yeah. So okay. So at the high school we have our meetings is Wednesday at 2, and they have that announcement made, and we meet at the yellow IRC Wednesday at 2.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Yes?
Just a congratulations on your award. Nice job.
Which one?
The one with the
I'm just being arrogant.
humility.
I'm sorry. I am so happy.
No, it brings great pride to Brockton.
Yeah,
and the fact that you're leading these folks and these kids and they're watching you, it's, you know, the term lead by example comes to mind. So thank you.
Well, you know, so this here coat actually came from them. They actually had it picked up for me for Christmas. I get all of these notes from my kids right in college now, talking about, you know, in high school, I hated you. And now, thank you so much, Mr. Turner, because, you know, it's like, you know, I'm from the old school. We're old school. We believe in tough love. And kids be talking, well, it's too hard, Mr. Turner. No, it's not hard enough. Like, you know, we're in there Saturday, and you should come to our drone program. These here kids are throwing down. They are there before I get there. They're there working. And they're asking me to leave. They're saying, Mr. Turner, you're having us bothered. They are literally making the drones from scratch. They lay all these parts on the table. And for all these people saying, oh, these kids aren't capable, they can't do nothing, we are going to win this here competition. You know, we are going to do really well. They asked us if we wanted to take the easy way or the hard way. A lot of schools I found out took the easy way, whereas that they had them mailed that their drone, which was already in fact made. I said, no, we want to make it. And now these here kids is being NASA and all these people. I said, look, you can go straight and work for NASA. You can work for the Air Force. You can work for a type of airlines. So these are great opportunities. You know, our kids don't have to go to a college, they can go straight into the type of industry, just like the old days. The old days, you used to go from high school to doing electrical work, from high school to fixing planes. I mean, the type of Tuskegee Airmen who that we work with said their education was so good, they could go from high school to trying to fix and fly on planes. And that's where that we have to get. We're in a 21st century economy. It's AI, it's coding. All of those jobs from 15, 20 years ago are gone. We will never see those jobs ever again. So we have to have our kids with it ready, and that's what we're up here trying to do. We're good.
Thank you, Cedric. Good to see you. Appreciate.
So, thank you. And again, anyone who's interested, if they can't find where the program is, if they're at the high school, they should talk to Ms. Burns because she can connect them. And if they can't find them at the middle schools, they can reach out to my office and we can make sure they get connected. But that's college and career readiness, what we're doing and what students are benefiting from. And it all stems from building the right relationships. So, thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. So, again, as you can see, the great things that are going on after school on Saturdays. I also, speaking about the financial literacy program, the mayor has connected us with an old classmate who's president, CFO of Santander Bank. He's working with Miss Burns and I on doing a trading room here at the high school. They put one in New Bedford High a few years ago, and they're looking to sponsor one for us here at Brockton High and then to expand it over when the champion moves over to the May Center. So thank you to the mayor for introducing us. He's a Brockton High graduate, I believe.
His name is Jeff Weiner. I met him in the first grade at the Whitman Elementary School, went to junior high at West with him, and Brockton High, class 88, CEO of Santander. Doesn't live in Brockton, but never forgot Brockton.
Right. So he's going to support a trading room here at the high school and then over at the May Center when we move. So, so we're connected with him, his people now. But we first meeting was with in the mayor's office about 2 months ago. Yeah. And now he's connected us with the people that are going to get it done. So hopefully as we move into the summer, we can get that room set up and have it open for September in both schools. So.
Did you girls do Microsoft?
Yes.
So there's another program, another class 88. Her name is Missy Howard, and she's a bigwig at Microsoft. And Missy, during COVID, reached out to us to do a program that Microsoft sponsors called DigiGirls, and it's to help young women, mostly women of color, to learn how to code. And there's a career path at Microsoft. So they did round one, and she told me they already are starting round two with Brockton Public Schools. So it's great that these Brockton High alums don't forget Brockton, and they give them back, which is great.
Absolutely. So next we have getting into our earlier tonight at our 6:30 facility subcommittee meeting. We brought before that committee for approval to file a statement of interest for Brockton High School with the Mass School Building Authority. To us to submit that statement of interest for Brockton High School, which would be a renovation or a rebuild. We discussed that at the facility subcommittee meeting. So, Mr. Sullivan, I don't want to, you're the chair of that committee if you want to talk about that meeting, how it went. But the application process for statement of interest for this year, for 2022, it's opened quickly. We lost, we were not accepted into the program this year in it was considered 21. This one's considered 2022. We did not get accepted in our second round. It was our second time applying for Brockton High School. This will be our third time, which is pretty par for the course for renovation projects, especially large ones, or brand new buildings. So this will be our third application. It's due by March 24th. So the facility subcommittee discussed that tonight. So
Yeah, excuse, I just wanted to say that the Facilities Subcommittee met tonight here at Brockton High School in the Little Theater, and there was one motion came before us. It was on the renovation of Brockton High School, and Mr. Rodriguez has got the motion, if you wanted to read it off. We approved it at the facilities, now we're turning it over to the full school committee for its approval.
Motion to approve authorization for the superintendent to submit to the Massachusetts School Building Authority the statement of interest form dated March 24th, 2022 for Brockton High School 470 Forest Ave, which describes and explains the following deficiencies in the priority categories for which an application may be submitted to the Massachusetts School Building Authority in the future. Brockton High School full renovation, and hereby further specifically acknowledges that the submitting this statement of interest form, the Massachusetts School Building Authority in no way guarantees the acceptance or the approval of this application. The awarding of a grant or any other funding commitment from the Massachusetts School Building Authority or commits to the city, town, regional school district to filing an application for funding with the Massachusetts School Building Authority.
It's a form of a motion.
Motion.
Is there a second on that motion? Second made by Mr. Sullivan. All in favor of the motion as read? All opposed? Motion carries.
So thank you. And we were talking earlier, and just for some, Mr. Rodriguez made a good point to make it clear to the community about what the statement of interest is, the process. It's a long process. I mean, it takes a few times to put the application in. The MSBA looks at all the projects. They gave us examples that we met with them last year. Places like the new school in East Bridgewater, Holbrook, West Bridgewater, they usually have applied at least 3, sometimes 4 or 5 times before they get accepted. The MSBA also looks at their budget. They budget each year how much money they allocate for the core program, which this is the core program. Obviously, Brockton comes with a very heavy price tag for this size school, and then you enter into a feasibility study they'll tell you what should happen. We get 80% reimbursement, so that's factored in to the decision making from the MSBA. But like I said earlier, we did 9 projects back in 2011 and 12. We did the Huntington recently. We did the Barrett Russell windows recently. I think overall it's been about $75 million since 2012. That total cost that we've done renovations for roof, windows, and boilers with the MSBA. And like I was saying earlier, I put in about 20 statement of interests, and no school committee member, no mayor, or city council has ever not fully voted to support us putting in applications to the state to obviously make our buildings better. And it's not only the building, it's also would be the athletic fields and the grounds of Brockton High School as well. So, thank you to the school committee, the mayor. This will now go forward to the city council. It will be brought forward by Ward 3 City Councilor Mark DiAugustino, who represents the ward Brockton High School is in. That's going to be brought to the city council quickly because it has to be this same motion. The language has to be approved by the city council, and both certified votes have to be submitted with the application to the MSBA. So that's the next step. And that's the end of my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Are there any items to refer to subcommittee at this time? None? We'll move on. Unfinished business, which is agenda item 5, and it's discussion and potential vote for the bid review subcommittee meeting of March 1, 2022. Mr. Sullivan?
Yes, the bid review subcommittee met tonight, March 1st, here at Brockton High School, and the bids that were presented to us were rejected 100%. They're going to come back at a later date with it.
Okay. We do not need to take a vote on that.
No vote.
New business, which is agenda 6. Any new business before us tonight?
Mr. Mayor, I just want to say a word about Mr. Marrow.
Sure.
He was my teacher, as a student at Brockton High School. And then when I came up, my first job as an administrator was a department head here at Brockton High School. He was the principal. Dr. Zakowitz was his associate principal, and I've known Mr. Marrow for a long time. And you can't ask for a better man. I think he was one of the only few people of color to be an administrator at that time. I think him and Bob Jones, and obviously I might be missing others, but he paved the road for administrators of color. Just a true gentleman who loved kids and was a pleasure to work for, and just a great person. So our hearts are broken today for Mr. Marrow and his family, and he just was a great man, and I just wanted to mention how wonderful it was to know him and work for him. So, yeah, he will be missed.
Yeah, I don't know if you know that Gene also served on the License Commission for the City of Brockton. He also volunteered for the Parks Commission. He also volunteered Brockton Redevelopment Authority. So I had the honor and privilege to play for him as a football coach, and he was just a great guy. We knew that he wasn't feeling well, so during Black History Month, I have a TV show called Our Brockton on BCA. I want to thank BCA. And we went to his house and did an interview with him just several weeks ago. So if you didn't get a chance to see that, please see that. The gentleman was just that. He was a gentleman. He was a gentleman and a gentleman. If he liked you, right? You didn't want to get on his bad side. But he was a Brocktonian. So again, if you haven't been able to see Mr. Merrill on that episode about Brockton, I would strongly encourage that. Thank you. One other thing I do want to say, I want to thank Superintendent Mike Thomas. So after the middle school soccer champions this year and football came back to middle school, the football champions, I called the track as well. I called Mike and asked him if he could consider giving sweatshirts, if we could purchase sweatshirts for the champions, right? The boys and girls that were champions. And he didn't even hesitate. And so I know this came true because my daughter was on the soccer team at Plouffe, and she was proud to run to me tonight when I came home to show me her new sweatshirt. So that's what it's all about, to do a little something to make them feel appreciated, especially during COVID. So I do want to thank all the coaches. I want to thank Mr. Campbell. Matt Campbell was really, and Mr. Cairo. Kevin helped on this as well. But thank you, Mike, for agreeing to do that. Made a big difference.
Yeah, it was great. We gave a sweatshirt to every winning team for football, track, and soccer, and we'll do the same at the basketball season. Will be coming to an end soon, and we'll do the same, obviously, for boys and girls basketball, but also volleyball's coming up, and then obviously in the spring we have softball, baseball, so we'll do the same for them as well.
And just to let you know that my team, the mayor's team, is playing New Heights Charter School and basketball, and I have asked Mike to serve as the center for the team. He says he still has the shot. I might want to recruit Mr. Rodriguez to throw some elbows down low, but we are going to be playing, and the rumor is that Governor Baker will be their center, so we will be playing Charlie, so hone up the athletic ability. It's coming up next month. With that being said, I am going to recognize Tim Sullivan at this time. Mr. Sullivan.
Yeah, just in the beginning, I've been watching Fox News over the past week, and it seems like it's constantly on this trouble that's going on in Ukraine and Russia. And I just wanted to bring it up here tonight for a moment of silence for all the people who have lost their lives, and there's over 300. And I can't figure out why. It's just kind of astonishing. And I'm just calling for a moment of silence for those people who have lost their lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. I know all of us got this on our desk, just to let the public know, again, Art Smart, Brockton Public Library Spring Art Exhibit and Contest. Reception is going to be Wednesday, the 16th of March, 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the main library in the Driscoll Art Gallery, which is at 304 Main Street. Again, we would strongly encourage anybody and everybody to pay a visit to that. Any other school committee members at this time have any comments or? Seeing none. Some say this is the best part of the night. Motion to adjourn. I'm going to entertain that motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
It's a second. It was made by Mr. Sullivan, probably seconded by Ms. Sullivan. All in favor? All opposed? It carries. Drive careful.